Okay, so now we start getting into just like little bits of armor detail. We have the general concept laid out. We have man, that cape sticks around for much longer than it should. But now we're breaking up the armor so that we can get the separate pieces. We're starting to exaggerate the thicknesses of certain areas to get the reads that we want. We're adding straps. We're adding just like so. The way that DNT can work is that the more I dig in, the darker the form will be. But also because this is meant to be a mechanical character, having those moments where it's like, oh, even though this represents human anatomy, this area there's a hole or like there's an indent where like human flesh is supposed to be is a really great way to subtly convey that this is not human and this is potentially not even an organic creature. Aside from the fact, of course, that this thing is literally made out of metal, and it's like I forgot what the hell tall it was, like 10 meters tall. It was really tall. Um, so I started using fiber mesh at one point in there, and actually, this is a really nice one. So sometimes it's better to just zero mesh your geometry, even though you might have some really cool happy accidents. Don't be attached to your, don't be crippled by your happy accidents to the point where your baseline and your fundamentals are not set. When you're dealing with hard surface, you want transitions, you want things to be smooth. And if you're trying to go fast, it's just faster to zero mesh, sacrifice those happy accent details, and then just bring them back. Um, Especially with this type of very suggestive concepting. Um, Quite literally, most of the detail is just noise and kits. It's just like yes, I am following some design logic, mainly from just like luxury design and stuff, but ultimately, you know like you can see here, now I go back in and I have enough information and I remember my concept well enough that I can just go in and just put back all the detail, and it looks better than it ever has. And in part because the base form underneath has that nice smoothness that I wanted. And even though I kind of struggle making some decisions here and there, it still works out. I'm basically just outlining a mixture of muscles and a mixture of just like what I think would look cool, what I think would communicate. So you see, I have just like the hierarchy. So remember, I want this to read as something that has been hand detailed very labor intensively. So really, it's in my best interest to just put as many lines in there as I can possibly make sense. You know, this is a sort of situation where after we're done with sort of just like the visual understanding, the visual impact of this design style, is then we can go in and make every last little bit on that armor into something. Like maybe I'll just like put a few snakes in there, or start putting some wings. Oh, here you see me starting to materialize. There's a couple reasons why you could materialize in ZBrush. The main reason here is that when you export based on sorry when you export via material grouping in keyshot, what happens is, or I think what tends to happen is that it will update not based on your individual subtools, but based on the materials. So if you have to split something off and edit the geometry, it's a lot easier to do that, and you don't have to like remember the names of subtools. If you've ever worked with the Keyshot to ZBrush grid, you'll realize that it has this very, very strong preference for keeping the same names and so on, whereas the material input export is much more forgiving, though I do actually run into issues sometimes. Um, the other thing as well is that it's nice to pre-visualize a little bit of some of sort of like the colors and sort of like the graphic breakdown. So here you see me just make the entire thing in gold. The reason is at this point, like I'm sort of just like not sure what needs to be what material, so I just make the whole thing in gold and just render it out and just try to figure out just like maybe I can make this whole thing in gold. I do remember that I'm on like a very very tight deadline. Um, so I'm thinking just like, all right, well, do I need to materialize the living heck out of this, or can I get away with just one or two materials? Um, so yeah, so here you see me just kind of thinking, how much gold can I use? Obviously, in the final, I actually only used three materials, which was the emissives, the gold, the silver. Technically, there's like I think five or six. Like I had two or three different versions of the gold and two or three different versions of the silver, but that is not so much a design thing choice per se. It's more of just a rendering choice, because sometimes you just want things to be darker so it reads better. And even though it's like, yes, the materials are exactly the same, it's just not lit to be that dark. Sometimes it's just better for you to just make a darker version of the material. So in the final, if I'm not mistaken, I know the chest for sure is just a darker version of gold. And I think the fur is also a darker version of gold. I think. I know the chest is. The abs are for sure. So it just looked like there was more, just more antiquing in there. So, I forgot I did this. I did some weird squigglies on the arm that don't stick around. Oh, okay. I remember what happened here. So after squigglies, I just kind of took a break. You saw like ZBrush went over to the what you call the screensaver. Here I'm detailing out the neck. I didn't. I just didn't. Yeah, I wasn't the biggest fan. Oh, this was a weird bug with the fiber mesh. I'm not quite sure what caused it, but if I'm not mistaken, I think I either painted it out or I just chopped it out in geometry. By the time it got to the final render. Um, yeah, so I'm just trying to work out different body parts now.